Alright, good morning everyone. Today we're going to talk about how to create a compression library for DataFlex using the Microsoft Compression API. So a couple of days ago, I think Ravin here, if I pronounce your name wrong, I apologize, was asking that if anyone has implemented the MS Compression API in DataFlex. And I did reply that it should be pretty straightforward. And I think, yeah, it should be pretty fun. So I want to make a quick tutorial as to what I'm going to do with it. Now, I do have to be honest with you that I did the recording earlier on. It took about 47 minutes to explain the entire thing. So I'm going to try to keep it brief, but hopefully that you guys can still learn something from it. Okay, so let's go back to the original article here. So we have an article that shows you all the API calls, what needs to be done, and the actual file that or actual sample code. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna do the coding first, then I'm gonna explain what's going on so that you can see it. Because last time, as I was explaining and coding at the same time, it kind of it took quite a bit of time. So let's start with this. So I'm gonna save a file real quick. So I'm gonna save it as on the desktop. I'm gonna call it compression library.pkg. So first thing first, we're gonna use Windows, and we're gonna create two function prototype. So I'm gonna call it ms compress global, and then it takes a uchar array, and then it returns a uchar array. So that's what the original poster was saying. So the compression and the decompression are really similar. So I'm going to create the compression first, and then I'm going to create the decompression. So next thing you know that is that in this particular sample code, we use 4 different APIs. So the APIs are create compressor, compress, and create decompressor and decompress. So let's take a look at the how to actually convert this. All right. So on the left side, you have some indexes to show you where to find the API. So this is the API function. We're gonna grab this. We're gonna put it here, and then we're gonna create compressor and then the word compress. All right. So we're gonna grab the definition and we're gonna do it inside DataFlex. Let's take a look at what it needs. Now, again, I did that before, so I'm going to show you how to get the information. If you scroll down to the page of compress functions or one of the compress function, you know that it is actually using cabinet.dll. So that's the DLL that we're going to be using. So let's go back to the original code. So I'm going to call it external function. So now this is the name of the DataFlex function. We're gonna call it the same, and then this is the name inside the DLL. This is the name. You can call it VDF if you want. Doesn't really matter. So it is a algorithm here, and then it has a pointer to some kind of routine, and then it returns a pointer of a handle, and then it returns boolean. Okay, so we got the first one done. All right, so second one, actual compress. We're actually just gonna grab this thing. All right, conversion handle, that's just oh, sorry, delete a little bit too much. We're gonna fix up everything, but compression handle, and then some kind of pointer, uncompressed data. So that is going to be our UChar array, and then the size of the UChar array. So and let's go to the next line. And then the compressed buffer. So that means that the data, the return data, is going to be a pointer. And then the size of the compressed buffer, which is going to be integer. And then at the end, the actual size of the data that returns. So I'm going to do a pointer because it actually returns data back to you. And then the entire function returns a Boolean. Hopefully I can speed this up while I'm programming. So this is the compression method. So let's take a look at what needs to be done. All right, first of all, let's fix up that we did say it's coming from cabinet.dol. So let's put it there. All right. So sample code, very straightforward. Let's go back to the original sample code here. All right. So we have a word for create compressor. We're not going to do too much error checking. This is just to illustrate how to do this. And then we're going to get this call, compress. And then we are going to actually compress. So this is the idea of the compression. So I'm going to explain what it does and as I code so that hopefully it doesn't take too long. So this is the three big chunk of things that we're going to have to worry about. So first thing first, we have to create a compressor. Compressor, what it is just a handle. So we're going to grab this. Okay. And so there's some constant here. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. So it's in the compress API.h. So if you don't have a Windows SDK, do install it. So it is in this particular location. So pause the video and you'll find it. It's probably in the similar location. So, but we're going to do Huffman encoding. But you know what? We're going to grab the entire algorithm. So go ahead and try to mix and match whatever compression algorithm that you want to use. So I'm going to put it here first. So since this is DataFlex, we have to make it DataFlex syntax. So for this exercise, we're going to use exactly what the sample code is using Huffman encoding. Okay. All right. So we want to create a compressor, and then so we want to save a Boolean to success. All right. So we're gonna do some DataFlex syntax here. Sure, we're just gonna follow what it says. We don't have a null pointer, so we just pass 0. And just for the sake of, and then the compressor. So now the compressor, we need to initialize it. You haven't tried calling API calls, make sure you initialize your buffer before you pass a pointer of the buffer to the API call. So I'm gonna call address of. Do this. So basically, we're just doing straight C conversion. So next, and then we're gonna call this guy compress. Let's do this. All right. So you know that we're gonna be moving it to success. We're gonna use all the exact same variable name. So we need the compressor input buffer. Now input buffer, this is gonna be what we need. Input buffer. Okay. And input buffer size file size. We just use the same name, but feel free to change the name later on. So that's the input buffer size. So the size of the input buffer is basically size of array. Input buffer to input file size. Okay, so we do have this. So make sure that, again, well, this is DataFlex, so make sure that you put a semicolon here so that the line continues. Okay, so input buffer size. So this particular function just to query the compressor, saying that how much buffer do I need for the compression. Now it's not the end result size, but this is the buffer size. So so we need to know what the compressed buffer size is. So we're going to define another parameter right here. And again, we are getting information from the API, so make sure you initialize it. So we're going to move 0 to this guy. This is where we want to get the data from. So we want to know what it is. So this is a pointer, so we're going to convert that in address of. So, all right. So we kind of got this. Let's make it a little bit prettier so that we can kind of see what's going on. And okay, to be success. All right. All right, the actual compression. So I'm going to copy this line because it's really similar. So save some typing. But this time we actually have some. We're going to change this guy. As you can see that this guy, it was the last parameter. We move it up here. That's the reason why, because this is the buffer size. It's not the final compression size. So don't get that mixed up. This is the buffer in order for compression. So now we're saying that, okay, so we need to give it some address of something. Oh, by the way, this is an address of. You cannot pass a DataFlex array just like this, unfortunately. So fix that up. All right. All right. So we have the buffer size at some point because we just retrieve the buffer size right here on this line. So in the sample code, they call it compressed buffer. So basically, it's a uchar array. So we're going to do that here. Uchar of the compressed buffer. All right. So we're going to resize this thing. So this is the equivalent of allocating memory. So we're going to resize this. Again, this line early on is to grab the size of. So we're going to resize array on this array to the size. So we're going to grab this. To compress buffer. All right, fair enough. So we have the output buffer size. We know the size of the buffer and everything. So we're just gonna straight up convert the code. So at the end, now pay attention. This is the part where copy and paste might screw you over. Compressed buffer size, but this one is compressed data size. So when the function returns, it actually returns, besides a boolean, it would return the size of the actual compressed data. So this is different than the buffer size. So we're gonna have to define another variable. It's called compressed data size. Now again, we're getting stuff from Windows API, so make sure you initialize it. And that's it. So at the end, compressed buffer size is going to contain the compressed data. Now, the compressed buffer size is going to contains the result. So at the end, we want to function return this. All right, so let me trim the space real quick. All right. So at the end, we're gonna function return. We want to resize the array one more time. So the reason why, like, let's just say that compressed buffer actually takes a little bit more. So let's take a look at the example. We compress 200 bytes. The compressed buffer size might actually require about 250 bytes to compress. So this is for them to operate. And the final result is, it could be like 30 bytes. Okay? So this is the difference. 200, 250, and 30. So this is the actual size of the result. So at the end, we're gonna grab the compressed buffer, and then we're gonna resize it to this. So that's what we want. All right, so we just created a compress. Let's create decompress. So the good thing about this is that the decompress and the compress are extremely similar. So you can consolidate the code. Doesn't really matter to me, but for the sake of this activity, I'm just gonna copy and paste. So we're gonna call it decompress, or ms decompress. Decompress. So it's the same size. Input the raw data, and then you get the output. So the API call is called create decompressor, and then the compress is called decompress. So we're gonna change word here and there. All right, decompress. Okay. So obviously we did not define those function calls. Again, this is the lucky part where the function calls are extremely similar. So decompressor. All right, decompressor. Decompress and decompress. All right. So in this sense, we should be good to go. I know I'm jumping around quite a bit, but so those are the functions, and this is the global function we created, compression. Now, obviously, this is using Huffman encoding, so you can put a parameter to say how to convert that, maybe using different other algorithms right here. So pick one that you want. But for straight conversion, just for the sake of demonstrating how to convert a Windows API sample to DataFlex sample, this is what it does. Compress, decompress, and if you have any more comments, put it below, and then I might or might not read it. And all right, before we go, let's compile it just to make sure that I have a lot of syntax error. You might have caught it during the demo. So, all right, so forgot to put unfortunately, put a semicolon there. So let's see, hopefully that it will just compile. Wow. All right, 44. Oh, I forgot to define variables. I'm so sad. All right. All right. Really? Wow. How many places did I not put the semicolon? All right. So it compiles. So that's the end of the tutorial. So hopefully that you guys learned something. If you have any questions, put the comments below. All right, bye.